Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to lawsplaining the Halloween, or something equally cheesy and themed that this is. Hi. Hi, how are you? I see a guy in the chat named Hikaru. And if you do me a favor, Hikaru, are you the Hikaru I'm thinking of, or are you a different Hikaru? I don't know. Are you the Hikaru who was at my wedding? That's the real question. Because that's the easiest way to ask that and keep things kind of anonymous. That'd be interesting. Okay. Well, you're not that guy, which is fine. You're still good in my book. Thank you for being here. I just was wondering, that would have been a neat closed circle of the internet for me. But that's okay. Hey, it's only been 1 year. It actually hasn't even been 1 year. We're like really close to the 1 year anniversary of me doing anything other than having a YouTube channel as a place to upload, Diablo 3 speedruns, Eternal Crusade clips, and one clip of John Lithgow from Footloose saying, "The devil's not in these books, he's in here!" So, thank you all for joining me tonight. We are going to do a bunch of stuff. I've got some appropriately themed, like, Halloween stories based on law for you. I've got some themed Halloween cases and news and stuff that we're going to talk about. I've got some candy because it's Halloween, and I had to take my kids out. And they had a blast, and I got to carry a baby. So, like, my arm is tired. You bring a stroller with you. This is a lesson I should have learned in 11 years of parenting. All right. But before we get started, there's something I need to talk to you guys about. Let me see if I can bring this up. Hold on. All right. Oh, Keck, we'll talk about that in just a second. So, I got 2 super chats that we'll start with. And then I'm gonna kind of preview the week. And guys, the reason I start these streams and take a little bit to kind of get into the themes of what's going on is because it takes people a little time to trickle in. So I like to let that build up before we get started. Otherwise, I get a bunch of questions about what's going on. So we're going to cover some off-topic stuff, talk about the rest of this week. I'm going to take my pills that I forgot to take earlier. That'll be good. And then we're gonna roll through this. Oh, and I'll change the title. The titling on my overlay is old. I haven't changed it yet. I'll change that live. We'll figure out something dumb to put there. Ooh. This is not liquor of any kind. This is sparkling water. Just so you're not thinking I'm chasing my pills down as some sort of alcoholic beverage. All right. Mr. Rivik says, white men are terrorists and need to be stopped. I mean, I think that's true. Keck7Go says, what is a Halloween drink of the spooky rackets? And, well, Keck, last night I poured a little bit of Cosquay gin, I think. And then I actually forgot it. So it's been sitting in the same cup overnight and all day. That sounds like a scary drink, and we're going to do that. So here we go. That'll be the start. All right. Let me see if I can get this better. Oh, gross. Centered. I want to address something real quick. I want to address something because there's like some confusion going around. There's all sorts of stories and information, and my name is included in some of these stories by people like my buddy Ethan Van Sciver and so on. I'm mentioned sort of ancillary to some of this stuff, but I want to talk to you guys about what information I have, my involvement, so that there is no misconception happening. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to read through this latest update. This is 30 minutes ago on Mark Wade's GoFundMe. I don't know if Ethan has talked about this at all, but we're going to talk about this we're going to read through this real quick, and then we'll talk about what I can say to this. Okay, here we go. So this is Mark Wade posted this on his GoFundMe for his legal defense fund. Look at him looking towards the future or whatever he's doing there. I guess. There we go. That way, if I ever need a legal defense fund, I have an aspirational photo. Like, I'll look to Scalia. Okay. All right. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I assume he did. I just didn't know if he was watching. I heard his stream just ended, so I wasn't sure if he had gotten in before this thing just popped up. So let me talk about it from my perspective real quick as people trickle in, then we'll get into the Halloween stuff and we'll go from there. Tonight's a fun night, right? It's Halloween. Thank you all for being here instead of at parties and stuff. All right, some of you may be surprised at the amount of harassment and Mark Wade non-fan fiction being posted in the GoFundMe comment section. I'm reasonably sure that most GFMs don't attract trolls. Oh, come on, Mark. Tons of GFMs attract trolls. Tons of them do. Of course they do. There's a public forum right there with sometimes people embroiled in all sorts of things. Of course GFMs attract trolls, you lying fatso. Here's a short list of things I've learned about myself by reading the comments. Apparently, I'm a millionaire. Well, you might be surprised. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. It's shocking how much you actually own after a lifetime of collecting things, especially when some of those things are toys and comic books. Does that mean that Mark Wade has $1 million cash? I don't know that anyone thinks that. What's really funny about that is that most of the stuff I've said has said there's some site out there that says he's worth around $2 million. But most people don't believe he has anywhere near enough money to run a case like this. And color me in that camp. I don't think he's got the money. I don't think the GoFundMe is like a ruse at all. I would wager. I think I said from the start, your boy Zach got a bunch of money in an influx from his Indiegogo campaign. And Wade has been living on what we can assume is a relatively consistent income that probably doesn't spike in that way. So he's probably become accustomed to living somewhere around his means, either slightly over his means, slightly under his means, or right at it. The way most Americans tend to survive. They are comfortable in the level of their income. And outside of large income spikes or having just generally huge income, most people don't have this giant pile of resources sitting around. There are some people who are frugal and do that. But the safe assumption is no. Anyway, sorry, I'm going to tangent through some of this stuff because it's weird. Actually, it's not weird at all. It's not weird at all. Evidently, I was once in business with an African American woman. Okay. I don't know. I think, that's the one, the allegation of the cop, the store in Indiana, right? The store in Alter Ego Comics. Okay. We'll talk about where that comes from. I'm surprised to learn that I made some phone calls to some unnamed university in Scotland and got a woman thrown out 3 weeks before graduation. I don't know anything about this. And drove her unnamed husbands to 3 suicide attempts. Don't know anything about that. And it turns out I had a wife. So screw all of you for not sending me a wedding gift. There's so much more. I'm tempted to publish it as an anthology stretch goal. I've deleted exactly 1 ugly comment aimed at others. The rest I'm leaving untouched so you can see for yourself the sort of hate and harassment I'm having to lawyer up against. No, Mark. If you think you're lawyering up against hate and harassment, you're wrong. You're lawyering up against not hate and not harassment. You're lawyering up against your poor decisions in contacting a publisher to talk about a contract that you had no business discussing. And reread the complaint, Marky Mark. There's no allegation that your harassing statements or anything like that have anything to do with the tortious interference. All right, so next. And I'm a straight white man. Is he? Is he not a straight white man? Is he not a straight white man? Is he, like, that's... is he gay? Is Mark Wade gay? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. There's nothing compared to what women, people of color, and the LGBTQ plus community, not enough letters, Mark, receive every day from Comicsgate's representatives. Think about that. That's not true either. Read their comments. Pay attention to the language. It's important to see for yourselves how these people react and what fiction they'll throw at you when you take a stand against bigotry and for inclusivity. The inclusivity that results when you exclude someone from the publishing industry. That's the inclusivity Mark's talking about. When you object to black writers being called race hustlers, what if they are race hustling and it has nothing to do with them being black, but rather the specific writer race hustling? Like Jesse Jackson's a race hustler who also happens to be black. Richard Spencer's a race hustler who also happens to be white. Like, you don't have to be, like, the fact that the blackness of the writer has nothing to do with this, you fat dummy. Whose writing is a minstrel show. Well, maybe it was a minstrel show. Can a black guy not write a minstrel show? Like, can a black guy not write an... maybe I'm getting off in the weeds here because I have literally no idea what he's referring to. I don't know. So maybe I shouldn't comment on it. But in general principles, there's nothing wrong with these statements. Like, these are valid criticisms to have of people. When you call people out for comparing transgender people to dog-faced boys, well, do they look like a dog-faced boy? Some of them do. Some transgender people don't. Does this one? At the Carnival Freak Show. I don't know. I've seen some uggos in my day. Both trans and non-trans uggos. We'll call them. People are people. They come in all shapes and sizes. Like your shape and size, Mark. Squishy. When you object to women in an industry being accused of being hired, quote, because boobs and unqualified as a gender. What does that even mean? What is unqualified as a gender? Like, is there someone out there saying women are not qualified to be in a particular industry? I mean, I'm sure there's someone saying that somewhere. You can find someone to say anything. I'm fighting a lawsuit that I strongly believe is designed to silence anyone who speaks out against that sort of prejudice. No. Nope. No one cares, Mark. If you were to post publicly all of your words to Antarctic Press, like if you were to tweeted them out on Twitter, Meyer would have a much more difficult case, no matter what you said. Much more difficult. And some people have been asking me about this, okay? And this is a really hard thing to do, but people have asked me to analogize this to hypothetical situations. Someone today asked me, what would this be compared to if Ethan Van Sciver were sponsored by Hostess, for example, and 100 people contacted Hostess, or 300 people, I think they said, contacted Hostess and got Ethan Van Sciver kicked off. Would that be tortious interference? The answer is maybe. Maybe it would be, maybe not. There's so many factors going into it. And this is why in law, you don't go into hypotheticals hastily. Hold on, the stream is going slow. Just a second. It'll come back. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, don't fear not, guys. Fear not. It's back. It's back. It's fixed. Hold on. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. No, Mark Wade didn't get me. Mark Wade did not get me. The stream is not down. The stream is not down. Okay, guys. Okay. It's just, I forgot to shut down my automatic backup. I don't know if that did it or if it was just a general country internet lag spike. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. Let me get back to talking about this. In law, and I'll go back a bit, we don't want to jump into hypotheticals. We don't want to jump into hypotheticals in law without having a huge, it's like pages of facts that you need for a hypothetical, because the real case has pages of facts. So we can't really compare Mark Wade calling Antarctic Press to 300 people somehow contacting Hostess. Did they call Hostess? Did they call a customer support line? Did they tweet them? Did they tweet their Hostess support line? Did they call the CEO? Are they a CEO? Are they customers of Hostess? Are they commenting about what they don't want to buy? What are they saying? There's too much. There's so much in that it's hard to even come up with an analogy, okay? So we gotta wait. Or we gotta look at the case that we have. Case that we have is Mark Wade contacted Antarctic Press. Mark Wade announced that he was contacting Antarctic Press. He apparently had knowledge that Antarctic Press and Zach had a deal of some sort. And he was specifically calling them to let them know who they were dealing with. That's knowledge of the contract, and that's intent. All right? Those two things, those are the first two factors. Now, was there actual interference? Apparently, because after Wade's phone call, AP canceled the contract with Zach. AP canceled the deal that just probably 48 hours before, they said, no, we're pushing on with this, even though we're getting some pushback. This means we know we're doing the right thing and we're going for it. So then AP comes out and says it wasn't Mark Wade's fault, blah, 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 blah. But if you were fortunate enough to see Zach's video about this lawsuit, he mentioned that he had a different conversation with the CEO of AP that involved tears, a tearful phone call about the basically abuse that he received at the hands of Wade and people supporting Wade. Okay? We don't have that phone call. All we've got right now is Zach's assertion of that phone call in his now removed video. But that may mean that Zach has other evidence in support of his position. Now, Zach doesn't have to prove as some internet scholars out there have said, that Wade's call is the sole reason for cancellation. He just has to prove that it is a reason for cancellation. It doesn't have to be the sole one. It doesn't even have to be the biggest reason, technically speaking. It just has to be one of the reasons. You can find this in Knox versus Taylor. Knox versus Taylor is a 1996 Texas Supreme Court decision, which the decision to cancel a contract in Knox versus Taylor, the tortious interference that was alleged was quote unquote the icing on the cake. They had already basically decided to cancel the contract. They got a letter in the mail. The letter talked about some things. There was some defamatory stuff in the letter as well, which mildly changes that analysis. But the takeaway from that is that what they got, the letter that they got, was the icing on the cake to the decision to cancel the contract. So if Wade's call pushed them over the edge, that's enough. That's the canceling of the contract. That's the third element of tortious interference. The fourth one is damages. That's up to Zach to prove. Pretty easy to show, lots of damages. In Texas, if he can prove actual malice, which is a little bit tougher in this case, based on, we just don't have enough of the evidence yet. If he can prove actual malice, then he gets triple damages and all that stuff. That's all different. The other thing we know is that Wade had a gloating interview with Bleeding Cool. It's still up, in which he talks about the things that he said to AP. And in it, a reasonable person can reasonably conclude that there was pressure to end the contract, not based on defamatory statements, not based on telling him who Meyer was or any of that stuff, but based on various other things, like offering him an interview to talk about what the decision he made amounted to and all of that stuff. That all looks like industry pressure. It all looks like very, like anybody looking at this in a movie would say, that guy was like using mafia tactics, right? That's how that reads. Mark, I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you know that, Mark and Mark, but that's how that reads to many people passing by. And I think if you have any honest look at it, you'd go, oh, okay, that's a problem. So same to all you Twitter legal scholars out there. Don't listen to the AP posts, because the court's not really going to listen to AP that much. AP can say that it was not this thing at all, and they can still find tortious interference. So don't listen to the AP post. Look at the Bleeding Cool post, the most friendly post you could possibly have for Mark Wade. The friendliest publication implicates Mark Wade in this. So stop moving goalposts. Stop pointing to these red herrings and irrelevancies. Look at the most favorable reading from the ball gargling publication that is Bleeding Cool, giving the friendliest interview where Mark Wade blabs and blabs and blabs about his choices. Read that. That's the tortious interference. He lays it out for you. And if you're the dumb Canadian guy who can't get it through your stupid head that Mark Wade actually talked to the head of AP and not the secretary, go read Mark Wade's words where he says he talked to the head of AP and not the secretary, and details his conversation. You dumbest person on earth. You're the dumbest person I've encountered on Twitter, and that's a really high bar. All right. So, okay. Please donate and please keep sharing. Let's send a clear message that online harassment is unacceptable. It's funny. It's funny because you and your dumb little crew online harass people all day. And you just justify it by saying that they either do or would harass other people. Like that's how you go about it. Josk P, you're not the stupid Canadian guy though. You're not that guy. Andrew Gluck for $2. Thank you. He says, thank goodness you weren't Sundar struck. Yes. Sundar hasn't gotten to me yet. Sundar being the CEO of Google, he hasn't found a way to shut this country lawyer down. I'm like a modern day Jimmy Stewart. Well, I'm no big city lawyer, but all right. So that's Mark Wade's side of the story. Now, real quick, let me hit you with something. I know Ethan has covered this, but I'm going to cover this real quick. This is short. We'll do this. There we go. There we go. Now, Tillip, it is a salad of buzzwords. It is a salad of buzzwords. It's nonsense. Okay. So here's, I think Ethan has covered this. I promised him I wouldn't scoop him on this just because, oh yeah, let me explain my involvement in the cabal. This stuff is public record. All it takes is a request. You call a police department. You can ask them for reports that occurred. Okay? So, this is a police call report from 2014, December 31st, 2014. This is in Muncie, Indiana. This is at the Alter Ego comic shop that is no longer there. The Alter Ego comic shop. Now, the reason I have this is because someone was supposed to send a fax to Indiana to get this information. And I said, I can get to a fax machine tomorrow. And so I went to go get it. Because believe it or not, governments still use fax. Governments still use fax machines. That's how dumb they are. Oh, Ethan said it was okay. But all I have right now is this detail call for service report. Okay, so this just talks about a phone call that occurred. I have asked for the transcript and the recording of the call. They don't know if they still have it because this is a little old. If they have it and we get it, I will pass it along to EVS. And if they don't have it, then I won't because we won't have it. But yeah, so the person has said that they will try and find it tomorrow. They were supposed to today, but some things are happening at the office that made it hard for them to do it. So I was hoping to have this today. But that's my involvement. Someone else arranged this, and then it was just contact this person to get the report. So I happen to be the person to contact them. Nothing special is going on. Just so everybody's clear on that. Okay, so here's the detail. This is at 111 East Adams Street, Muncie, Indiana. Muncie? I don't know how to say that. Common name, Alter Ego Comics. I can't highlight on this. So this is a 911 call report by the name of Jason Pierce. Jason Pierce. I think we have Pierce Outlaw, right? Is the person who wrote the post. So Miss Pierce Outlaw and Jason Pierce were comic book store owners, allegedly. Jesse, and you still use a fax machine? I am so sorry for you, sir. They're allegedly comic book store owners, and here's their call. Because remember, Mark said that, how did he word it? Some of this stuff is, let me pull that back up, and we're just going to go back to the top. I was once in business with an African-American woman, so we're going to validate that if we can. That's all he says here, though. That's the only thing he denies here, is that he was once in business with an African-American woman. Maybe he was only in business with the African-American, or with the man. I don't know if Jason Pierce is African-American. Maybe he was only in business with him. Okay, so anyway. So here's the report. Mark Graves, correction, Wade. So or Garvis. So take off Mark's Garvis. It's Mark Wade, right? What's going on? Tearing up the business inside. He is the couple's business partner. Leaving, blah, blah, blah. White male. This is WM, white male. Jeans, black leather jacket. Not for sure how he got there, whether on foot or vehicle. So, this is the unit has been dispatched to Alter Ego Comics because of a white male in a jeans and a black leather jacket, allegedly named Mark Wade, who is the couple's business partner. There you go. There you go. It's Mency, Indiana. Okay. That's what it is. So, I don't know what else we can do to verify that claim, but apparently Mark Wade was in a business relationship with the person, despite what he said. So I just want to clear that up. That's the information that I have at this point in time. That's my involvement with that. That's the extent of it. When I know more, you'll know more. Okay? So now that we have officially gone through some stuff with Comicsgate and people have trickled in, let me briefly talk about what's going on. Where is my stuff? Let's briefly talk about what's going on for the rest of the week. We'll come up with a new title real quick. Let me do that. This is Halloween. Talking demons, cults, haunted houses, and squishy white males. That's just Mark Wade. It's not actually all white males that are squishy. Just Mark Wade. But I wasn't really intending to talk about him. All right, so that's done. What's coming up later this week? Today is Wednesday. It's already Wednesday. Tomorrow we will be doing a Russell Greer stream with Sriracha and special guest Peach Saliva. We will be reading chapter 4 of Russell Greer's masterpiece, Why I Sued Taylor Swift. I strongly recommend joining me and two very funny ladies as we read through and make fun of someone who deserves it. So that's that's Thursday night. That's tomorrow night for you guys. Join me for that. Friday, I am doing the Chad Dad chat that I talked about with Doug Tenaple and Larry Blydner. If you don't know Doug or Larry, they're great guys. What? What is she talking about? Hold on. Lady Racket's like, talk to me. Oh, you didn't talk to me? Okay, never mind. Lady Rackets is throwing me off. Okay, so sorry about that. Friday, Chad Dad Chat with Doug Tenaple and Larry Blydner. We're going to talk about being dads and raising families in a world full of scumbags and villainy. And so Doug, of course, is the creator of Earthworm Jim, also publishing Bigfoot Bill, I think is the name of it. Larry Blydner is a published author who's what is it? How to Raise Kids Without Losing Your Cool. What?
We have crazy kids. I was yelling at the kids.
Oh, okay. Lady Rackets was yelling at our children. Say hi. You look great.
Hi.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
So
we have crazy children.
Yes.
Lots of sugar. Good night.
Okay. Good night. Love you.
Love you.
All right. So.
Hopefully good night.
Yeah, disappointed ball gargling didn't make the title. Sorry, Tony. All right. We are going to have, so Larry wrote a book about raising kids without losing your cool. And he is Mr. Velvet. If you don't know who Larry is, or you don't know who Doug is, hopefully I can make those worlds cross a little bit. And it's just going to be a relaxed, fun stream. We'll take questions about being dads and all that stuff. It should be nuts. Yeah, she has several sisters, but no, she has two sisters, but they're both married. Okay, so Jonathan Cowling says, what are 2 Rekieta approved horror movies? Oh, that's easy for me. You gotta have House of 1,000 Corpses, Rob Zombie, which that's all your camp, right? That's all your camp and gore. And of course, one of the single best executed scenes in all of cinema exists within House of 1,000 Corpses. So definitely watch that. The second one would be Devil's Rejects, which is the sequel to House of 1,000 Corpses and is wholly better in every way except lacking that one perfect moment that House of 1,000 Corpses has. But it's great. It is a great movie. House of 1,000 Corpses is definitely campy and ridiculous, and some people don't like it, and that's fine. But if you don't like those two, I would go with In the Mouth of Madness or Event Horizon or both as my other 2 choices. So there you go. Tenapple or Tinapple? Okay. So that's the scene in House of 1,000 Corpses is when he's got the cop down on his knees in the puddle, and it does the slow pan up for like way too long in silence, and then he shoots him in the head. Oh, it's perfectly done. Perfectly done. That's the best moment. That's one of the best moments in all of cinema, and you can fight me on it if you want. So there you go. There you go. Your lame choices, Sean. Event Horizon and In the Mouth of Madness are both fantastic. As well. Okay, let's get this ugly guy off. Go away. Let's get into, where's my Halloween folder here? Pardon me for 1 minute while I set this up. But yes, so that is tomorrow and the next day for streaming. Come join me on those. They should be an absolute blast. All right, guys. What are we covering? We've got a legally haunted house. We have, to my knowledge, the only legally haunted house in existence recognized by the New York Court of Appeals. It is a legally haunted house. I am dressed up, teddy bearisms. Oh, you can't see. I'm wearing khaki pants. I am a Target employee. How dare you, sir? How dare you? How dare you? Creep Show, yeah. Killer Clowns, of course. Of course. Creep Show and Creep Show 2. Oh, let me read that. I could just read that. Let's see. Jesse N says, I watched Creep Show, Trilogy of Terror, Dead Alive, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space for Halloween today. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, one of my favorite movies. Creep Show is great. Used to terrify me as a child. I think it was Creep Show 2 that really did it, though. That was the one with the sludge on the lake. Man, that thing wrecked me as a kid. So that movie, seriously, I was, Creep Show 2, the sludge on the lake was just really, that was a brutal one for me. I don't know why. Like, looking back, I'm like, this isn't scary at all. All right. No, that wasn't Tidy Whitey's. That was my white skin. Very pasty. My underwear right now are blue, so no. Anyway. Here we go. We've got a... Yeah, here's the haunted house case we can read through. What else do we have? What else do I have? Oh, yes. I have an update in the Allison Mack case. Allison Mack being the sex trafficking cult. Guys, Popat has a rule. It's never RICO. Apparently, it's RICO. So, I can pull that up. We'll get ready for that. Just a second. Okay, so here's the initial indictment. And then we've got the updated indictment. So there's that. So, gosh. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, and the other thing is the church, like a temple of Satan, a satanic Satanist temple, is suing Sabrina, Netflix or whatever, because of where is it? I've got this thing pulled up. Here, let me see if I can just pull this up real quick. Over here. Why is that too small? Okay, let me bring this to the front. Maybe we'll do this one first because it'll be the shortest one. Where do I want to put Adobe down? Can we read? I'm gonna have to fix it. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. So we'll do this one first, and then we'll go into the other cases that we got. Nick dressed up as Scout from Team Fortress 2. Yeah, yeah. Keck7 Go says, my friend is being put on a bunch of homewrecker and cheater websites. Problem is, what was said online about them was true. What can I do? Our legal advice, nothing. If what was said about him is true, man, there's not much you can do about that. Not much you can do. If you can identify the person, maybe you can make a harassment case out of it, but it'd be tough. It'd be tough. Okay, so here's what we got. The Satanic Temple accuses Netflix Chilling Adventures of Sabrina of appropriating Baphomet statue. And, I mean, I guess Chilling Adventures of Sabrina may have gotten its evil decor a little too correct. The Satanic Temple has threatened to take legal action against Netflix for appropriating its copyright design of a Baphomet monument. All right. We've sent Netflix a letter from our lawyers informing them of the copyright violation, asking them to take our imagery out of their show. Co-founder Lucian Greaves. Of course his name is Lucian Greaves. Like, how cool is your name? You have to have a cool name that sounds like you're a Satanic Temple guy, right? Like, that's the rule, I think. So you can see it in the background. There's the Baphomet statue. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but the Sabrina version of the statue can be seen frequently at the Academy of Unseen Arts, where the young half-witch Kiernan Shipka learns the ways of the Dark Lord. I'm amazed that anybody is confused as to why we would seek legal remedy over Sabrina using our monument. Greaves tweeted Monday. Would they be as understanding of a fictional show that used a real mosque as the headquarters of a terrorist cell? Yeah, they literally do this. That's not... that was... that happened in what? The Siege? I think they used a real mosque in the Siege. Oh my gosh. A fictional blood libel tale implicating real-world Jews? Yeah, I mean... You saying Baphomet's a real-world character? That's cool. Reps for the streaming service did not immediately return the Daily News' request for comment. Blah, blah, blah. Here, there's a better picture on the wrap. Sorry, I should have... Here's the better picture. I think we can all agree that right there, Baphomet is actually appropriating Black Lives Matter, right? Like, or Black Panthers with the fist. Is Baphomet a socialist now? Look up Lucian Graves' picture. Can I do it on stream? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, man. This guy's terrifying looking. Does he have a blind eye? He must. One of those eyes looks like it doesn't work. There you go. There is Lucian Graves. That guy, I mean, you know, eventually, like, you have a calling in life, I guess. Like, and if you're Lucian Greaves, that's where you're going to end up, I think, as the leader of the Satanic Temple. I was a little worried when you said to look up his picture because it used to be that if you looked up Anton LaVey, the guy who wrote the Satanic Bible, there was lots of nudity involved in his pictures. Not of him, thank goodness. That would have been terrifying. But, and yes, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about, can you copyright an ancient deity? the visage or image of an ancient deity? I don't think so. I don't think so. Would I represent the Satanist temple if they came calling? If I could help them, probably. Sure. Sure. So, yeah. I mean, I don't. No discrimination here, guys. No discrimination. Now, depending on their claim, depending on what their claim is, I might say, look, guys, I can do this, but there's probably somebody better for it, right? You might have someone who's ideologically aligned or who has specific experience representing satanic temples. That might be a better fit for you. But if they came to me and they thought I was the right guy, I'd probably represent them, sure. I don't have to agree with them. I represent all sorts of people I don't agree, by the way. Thieves, possessors of illegal substances, people who use guns inappropriately. I don't agree with those people either. I represent them still. Baphomet from 1967. Isn't Baphomet older than that? Let's look up the history of Baphomet. Let's do this on the fly. I don't know anything about him. Okay. So, over here, you have a 19th century image of a sabbatic goat. So, whatever your feelings on Baphomet, this looks like a parent image. It's kind of derivative of that. The original goat pentagram. Okay, so the name Baphomet first appeared in trial transcripts for the Inquisition of the Knights Templar starting in 1307. So Baphomet's been around a little while. It first came into popular English usage in the 19th century during debate and speculation of the reasons for the suppression of the Templars. Since 1856, the name Baphomet has been associated with a sabbatic goat image drawn by Eliphas Levi. So, there you go. Baphomet has been associated with this image since 1856. That's going to be a hard claim. I mean, I guess they can claim this particular image, but it's derivative of that. You can copyright derivative works that are sufficiently different to go into fair use. You can copyright fair use works, but you can only copyright the changes to them. And I don't know that this is a public domain work. Obviously, Eliphas is long dead, so that's going to be a public domain work. We're talking, and 75 years have passed since he died, I would assume. So then, I just don't think they've got much. Now, notice they haven't filed suit yet. They filed a cease and desist. A cease and desist from a group that is trying to get after-school satanic programs. Let's take out the Church of Satan thing, okay? Take it out. Let's say you're in Georgia and you're a Southern Baptist church, and you do after-school programs, after-school programming, and someone copies an icon that you have up in your church, okay? This is a great way to get publicity for your after-school program. I'm not saying that Lucien Greaves is doing that, but there's no harm in sending a cease and desist letter for something like this. Doesn't initiate legal action, doesn't compel Netflix to do anything. Netflix can probably annihilate this claim in court, because even if you don't take my argument that it's derivative of that, I mean, this imagery is not new. This imagery is not, this is exactly what I would expect a Baphomet image to look like. I mean, I'd be surprised if it was something else. And I don't know anything about it. Like, when I see it, I go, oh yeah, okay, makes sense. Install ad block, don't you dare. If I install ad block, I can't have my stream randomly shut down by ads. That's from Gigawarp. And Andrew Gluck said Hillary Clinton could represent them. They go into Hillary's office. They're like, why do you think you're the best attorney to represent us? Well, I have experience bathing in the blood of infants. So yeah, the feathered wings might be a little weird. Yeah, wouldn't it be leathery? Like, you'd go with leathery wings, I think. What's it got on here? But they're feathered on here. They're feathered on this old image. They clearly took the old image, right? Like, they didn't create that. It's a direct ripoff. Okay. So do they have a copyright claim here? It's thin. It's really thin. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's really, really thin. He's a fallen angel. Yeah. So is he in Paradise Lost? Is Baphomet in Paradise Lost? Let's see. Modern interpretations. I don't know. I know Beelzebub's in Paradise Lost. Let me just... Is this like a... What is this? I don't want that. I don't know what this is. Yeah, I don't know if he's in Paradise Lost or not. I know there's a lot of demons and fallen angels named in Paradise Lost. He could be in there. That's close in time. It's been too long. I'll have to reread it. But anyway, so this is Baphomet. Their claim is really thin because their picture is clearly derivative of older works. It's using common imagery associated with the demonic or the fallen angel. And a very simple Wikipedia search will find you one of a very early relative to all of this image that strongly resembles the same characteristics. So there you go. There you go. There's some law analysis for that. I don't think they have a strong claim here on Baphomet. Here's an old promotional poster for Leo Taxil, Les Mystères de la Franque Maçonnier de Voiles. Whew, my French is not so great. Let's zoom in on that. Oh, that's good. That's a good zoom. Whatever. Anyway. Okay. So there we go. That's the Baphomet issue, guys. That's the Baphomet issue. Let's move on. Who wants to hear? Okay, we're gonna do this live thing. In the chat, press 1 for Allison Mack, 2 for Haunted House, and we'll do that one next. 1 for Allison Mack, 2 for Haunted House, and I'll judge based on however I read it. Zoom and enhance. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. Ah! 2, 2, 2. Wait, that's all you. I don't even remember. I said 1 for Allison Mack, 2 for Haunted House. I'm getting a lot of 1s, 2s. Okay, Allison Mack. Let's do Allison Mack. And then we'll do the Haunted House. We're going to do them both. We'll zoom through this real quick just because I found this funny. So, Allison Mack is on house arrest. So if you need to find her, she's at home. Her house arrest, I guess, conditions have changed. She now gets 3 hours a week to go out and do necessities like shopping for groceries and stuff like that. Siren Jag says, put up Baphomet and Mark Wade side by side and see if we can tell the difference. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is the original indictment of Allison Mack. She's on house arrest. Oh, let me Keck. I mentioned this earlier. Oh, it's been sitting out all day. Oh, that's not good. Ugh. Nothing enjoyable about that. No, it's terrible. I gotta get that down so I can have something else. Blah. All right. Let's see. Let me do the gentlemanly thing. We'll pull up a picture of Allison Mack. There's a picture of Allison Mack, apparently, right here, right there. Whoa! Okay. So, don't ever do that again. All right, next time, we'll do that in a different window than what is visible. I'm going to have to go in and clip that out. That was completely unintentional. Okay. That's going to need a quick edit. I have to temporarily take the stream down. All right. Yeah, orange $sign engaged. Okay, this is Allison Mack with safe search turned on. This is what you get for doing it live, right? That was Bing. That was Bing. Thank you, Call Me Ishmael. I'll note the time I got 1 hour, 58 minutes. We'll put in. We're going to have to trim that baby out. Okay. So this is Allison Mack, the lovely Allison Mack. You may recognize her from, what was that show? Smallville. It's over there. That's why I looked. I have a couple of the Smallvilles. It only took 11 months, but you finally did it. Yeah. Okay. So that being covered. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So if we had enough of Bing searches, I hope. Let's get this right there. All right. Okay, so here's the Allison Mack indictment for you guys. Now, I'm going to drop in. I'm going to drop into the charges here. We're going to go through these real quick because the updated indictment changes these a little bit. I think, if I remember right, it changes them. So count 1 is sex trafficking, where this is where Keith Raniere, who's the guy who ran the cult, also known as Vanguard, and Allison Mack, who's one of his assistants, together with others, did knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain, advertise, maintain, patronize, and solicit one or more persons, to wit, Jane Does 1 and 2, individuals whose identities are known to the grand jury in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, and attempt to do the same. So they did it and they attempted to do it, and they benefit and attempt to benefit financially by receiving a thing of value from participation in a venture which had engaged in such acts, knowing that means of force, threats of force, fraud, coercion, and a combination of such means would be used to cause such persons to engage in one or more commercial sex acts. So they threatened and coerced people into being sex workers or committing sexual acts for financial benefit. Sorry, I thought my wife was coming in to kill me. Yeah, Clay gets that right. That's a good rule, Clay Early. That is a good rule. Crown Royal. Crown Royal. Okay. So this was a bottle of Crown Royal Black given to me by my friend Soban. It has retired. Crown Royal Black, better than regular Crown Royal quite a bit, in my opinion. Press F if you choose for that bottle. It served me well. It served me well. All right. Much better than day old gin. Ugh. Okay. So here, count 2. Count 2. Here we go. Sex trafficking conspiracy. So this is where they conspired to do the things above because there's more than one person agreeing to commit a crime. Count 3, conspiracy to commit forced labor. So through the same things, they were going to make them perform some sort of labor acts. Not labor of giving birth, but labor in general. It's not just regular Crown, it's Crown Black. I'll have to try the maple version, but I don't want to turn Canadian. I've heard if you catch that, you can't get rid of it. I dislike normal Crown Royal too. Black is better. Okay. So that's the 3-count original indictment. It's very short. And then there's criminal forfeiture where they're looking for some property here. Let's go to the updated indictment because it became a very, very interesting. This is already an interesting case because it involved like some sort of TV star coercing people into being sexual slaves. I mean, that's always a winner, I guess. But here we go. This is the superseding indictment. And this indictment was filed and unsealed in July. The original one was filed, in April, I think? Yeah, April 19th. This was filed in July. I haven't really looked at it since then, but I thought for Halloween I'd pull it back up. I also saw that Allison Mack got her conditions of release changed slightly to allow her the 3 hours of 3 hours of time to go shopping and stuff during the week, and she has to clear that with her probation officer. And that was just a couple days ago. Oh, and in the interest of fairness and completeness, Allison Mack and Keith Rainier have moved, I believe, or are moving. No. They have submitted a request for extra time to the judge to file motion papers to dismiss all of the charges in the new complaint. But this case has been ruled a complex matter, which means everything moves even slower than it was already moving. And it's complex because it's now a RICO case. RICO is, here we go. So let's read through this. At all times relevant to this superseding indictment, unless otherwise indicated, the enterprise. So this is now an organized crime syndicate. The defendant, Keith Rainier, also known as Vanguard, was the founder of several pyramid-structured organizations, the Pyramid Organizations, including but not limited to NXIVM, Executive Success Programs, Inc., Ultima, and other related entities, collectively NXIVM, and an organization referred to as DOS, the Vow and the Sorority, collectively DOS. So he stole Ultima and he stole DOS. Good job. Maybe he likes to play Ultima 7 on DOSBox or whatever. Maybe that's what's going on there. In leading the pyramid organizations, Rainier relied on certain individuals, sometimes referred to as his inner circle, who recorded special positions of trust and privilege with Rainier and who carried out his directives. Members of Rainier's inner circle also held high positions in one or more of the pyramid organizations, including serving as executives, directors, and officers of NXIVM. Members of Rainier's inner circle also at times served as first-line masters directly under Rainier, meaning that they comprised the second highest level within the DOS pyramid, and that other than Rainier, they wielded the most power within DOS. Rainier and his inner circle included the defendants Claire Bronfman, Allison Mack, Kathy Russell, Lauren Salzman, and Nancy Salzman, also known as Prefect. And others, known and unknown, comprise an organized criminal enterprise, the Enterprise. The Enterprise, including its leadership, membership, and associates, constituted an enterprise as defined in Title 18, United States Code, Section 1961-4, that is a group of individuals associated in fact that was engaged in and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce. So that's a pretty broad definition. The enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members functioned as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of the enterprise. Nothing illegal about being an enterprise. It's what the enterprise does that makes it illegal. Purposes, methods, and means of the enterprise. The enterprise represented the good guys. Yeah. Sounds like they were busy beaming people up. The principal purpose of the enterprise was to obtain financial and personal benefits for the members of the enterprise by promoting the defendant Keith Rainier, also known as Vanguard, and by recruiting new members into the pyramid organizations. By promoting Rainier and recruiting others into the pyramid organizations, the members of the enterprise expected to receive financial opportunities and increased power and status within the empire. The enterprise operated within the Eastern District of New York, the Northern District of New York, and elsewhere, including overseas. Among the means and methods by which the defendants and their associates participated in the conduct of the affairs of the enterprise were the following: promoting, enhancing, and protecting the enterprise by committing, attempting, and conspiring to commit crimes. That's where you go wrong. Including but not limited to identity theft, harboring of aliens for financial gain, extortion, forced labor, sex trafficking, money laundering, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice. Big if true. demanding absolute commitment to Rainier, including by exalting Rainier's teaching and ideology, not tolerating dissent, inducing shame and guilt in order to influence and control members and associates of the enterprise, obtaining sensitive information about members and associates of the enterprise in order to maintain control over them. Guys, this just sounds honestly like, Mary Kay, the makeup people. Recruiting and grooming sexual partners for Rainier. That sounds like Mary Kay. Using harassment, coercion, and abusive litigation to intimidate and attack perceived enemies and critics of Rainier. And encouraging associates and others to take expensive NXIVM courses and incur debt to do so as a means of exerting control over them and to obtain financial benefits for the members of the enterprise. Now it sounds like Young Living Essential Oils right there. That's what it sounds like. The defendant, Keith Rainier, also known as Vanguard, founded and was leader of NXIVM and DOS. Rainier was also the head of the enterprise. Guys, and I'm only mildly joking when I say that this sounds like every other multi-level marketing scheme except with sex involved. Like, that's the only difference that I see. All of the extortive and exploitative behavior sounds like every other multi-level marketing scheme I've ever encountered. The only difference being forcing people to have sex. Good Lord. NXIVM. It's pronounced NXIVM, the heartburn medicine. Okay. I thought it was just like a string of Roman numerals. All right. The defendant, Claire Bronfman, was a member of the Enterprise and a high-ranking member of NXIVM from at least in or about 2009 to 2018. Bronfman served as on NXIVM's executive board. Defendant Allison Mack was a member of the Enterprise and a high-ranking member of NXIVM. Various times relevant to the indictment, Mack was also a first-line master in DOS. Why don't I have cool names? Like, if I was going to have an organization, I would come up with names that sounded criminal. Like prefect and first-line master. Like, let's just go as old Roman as possible to make sure everyone knows we're not doing anything shady. The defendant, Kathy Russell, was a member of the Enterprise and a high-ranking member of NXIVM. From at least in or about July 2002 to July to 2014, Russell served as NXIVM's bookkeeper. Defendant Lauren Salzman was a member of the Enterprise and high-ranking member of NXIVM from 2009 to 2018. Lauren Salzman served on NXIVM's executive board. Like, I'm tempted to Google all of these people, but I think I'll get more nude images. Various times relevant to the indictment, Lauren Salzman was also a first-line master in DOS. The defendant, Nancy Salzman, also known as Prefect, was a member of the Enterprise and the president of NXIVM. Nancy Salzman is Lauren Salzman's mother. All right. The defendants also acted in concert with other co-conspirators. Sounds like Advocare. Yeah. I don't sell Advocare, though, so I'm not getting raped. I guess on price I might be. I just take Advocare. The defendants also acted in concert with other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, who were members and associates of the Enterprise, some of whose identities are known to the grand jury. Count 1, racketeering. This is my kind of crime. Racketeering conspiracy. In or about and between 2003 and March 2018, both dates being approximate and inclusive within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere. Defendants Keith Rainier, also known as Vanguard. We know, you've said it like 100 times. Just call him Vanguard. Claire Bronfman, Allison Mack, Kathy Russell, Lauren Salzman, Nancy Salzman, also known as Prefect, together with others, being persons employed by and associated with the Enterprise, an enterprise that engaged in activities which affected interstate and foreign commerce, did knowingly and intentionally conspire to violate Title 18 United States Code, Section 1962C, that is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of such enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, as that term is defined in Title 18 U.S.C. Sections 1961.1 and 1961.5. The pattern of racketeering activity through which the defendants together with others, agreed to conduct the affairs of the enterprise, consisted of the Racketeering Act set forth in paragraphs 17 to 34 below as Racketeering Acts 1 through 10. So we're going to read those. Each defendant agreed that a conspirator would commit at least 2 acts of racketeering in the conduct of the affairs of the enterprise. So that must be one of the standards for the racketeering. Something's going on outside of my office. It sounds terrifying. Conspiracy to commit identity theft. In or about 2004, with the Northern District of New York and elsewhere, Rainier and Kathy Russell did knowingly and intentionally conspire to transfer, possess, and use without lawful authority and in affecting interstate and foreign commerce one or more means of identification of another person. To wit, Jane Doe 1, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, with the intent to commit and to aid and abet in connection with unlawful activity that constituted one or more violations of federal law, bringing in, transporting, and harboring an alien in violation of Title 8 U.S.C. 1324 A1A, a whole bunch of different stuff. Okay, bringing in and harboring an alien. Sex trafficking often involves undocumented people, people without legal status, because where do they go? Right? They're afraid to go to the police because if they go to the police, they know that they can be tossed out of the country. In or about December 2004, Rainier and Kathy Russell did knowingly and intentionally conspire to possess a false identification document, a sheriff's identification card with the last name and date of birth of Jane Doe 1, with the intent that such document could be used to defraud the United States. So there you go. Racketeering Act 2, identity theft. Rainier, Bronfman, Russell, and Nancy Salzman. So Allison Mack isn't even in this yet. Conspire to transfer, possess, and use without lawful authority and in affecting interstate and foreign commerce one or more means of identification of one or more other persons with the intent to commit and aid and abet and in connection with unlawful activity that constitute one or more violations of federal law. To wit, intercepting wire and electronic communications in violation of Title 18 and unlawfully accessing wire and electronic communications in violation of Title 18. So they were apparently intercepting phone or text messages, something like that. Identity theft of John Doe 1. Oh, a John Doe. I thought these were all women. Nancy Salzman is a Clinton Global Initiative member. I just found a link where the feds raided her home due to Rainier and her running a child sex ring. No, you don't say. That's not true. The Clintons would never be anywhere even close to involved in something like this. How dare you, sir? How dare you suggest otherwise? Like I said. Hi, I'm Hillary Clinton. I have experience bathing in the blood of infants. Don't assume their gender. Sorry. Okay. Identity theft of John Doe 1. So they did knowingly and intentionally transfer, possess, and use all of that stuff. One or more means of identification of another person with the intent to commit or aid and abet unlawful activity, violations of federal law. So they use this guy's identity to intercept wire and electronic communications. John Doe 2. This is Rainier and Claire Bronfman. So then, let's see. Aid and abet. Okay, so they unlawful. Yeah, same thing. They possessed identification to unlawfully intercept wire and electronic communications. Racketeering Act 3, conspiracy to alter records for use in official proceeding. So this is Keith Rainier, Nancy Salzman. Check your Twitter DMs for the link. Uh-oh. We'll pull it up real quick. Hold on, I'm bringing it over here. Oh, that lady looks like a Stepford lady. Hold on, let me pull this up for just a second. There we go. Not this one. I said the lady. The lady looks like Stepford. Hillary Clinton looks like a male Greek god or something. I don't know. She looks... You know, what was that? Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country? Like, I expect this face to be in the list of male faces that weird entity at the center of the galaxy had. Right? That looks like a guy. Hillary, what are you doing in that picture? It's terrible. Terrible. You keep saying John and Russell? Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to put up Hillary there. Watch this video before U.S. billionaires destroy it, guys, right here. Make sure. Okay, so let's read this real quick. TimesUnion.com. Rainier was shackled and dressed in a t-shirt, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's arrested near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Don't get arrested in Mexico. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if I want to read this. This is a long time. In the hours preceding Rainier's court appearance, the FBI agent spent several hours combing through the Saratoga County residence of NXIVM's co-founder and president, Nancy Salzman. Let's see. A former NXIVM associate, Kristen M. Keefe, who defected from the organization several years ago, alleged in 2015 that large amounts of cash used to be stored in a safe at Salzman residence. That's why the FBI is there. Get that civil asset forfeiture. Let's see. Where's the link to the Clintons? That's what I'm looking for. Where's the link to the Clintons? Oh, I skimmed this too fast. Hold on. Let's see. Clinton Global Initiative member. Oh, it's right there in the bold. Got it. It just says Clinton Global Initiative member. It doesn't really talk about the link. But that's kind of interesting. You know, I trust the Clintons so little that it's sad. All right, let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. Otherwise, we're going to be here all day. Okay. Gosh. Oh, God. Sorry, I looked over at my screen. It was Hillary Clinton still looking back at me. That was horrifying. Disgusting. Racketeering Act 3. She needs to rub the blood into the lines. Like, that's how it works, I think. Oh. All right. Okay, so yeah, this is Rainier and Nancy Salzman. Knowingly and intentionally conspire to corruptly alter, destroy, mutilate, and conceal one or more records, documents, and other subjects, to wit, video recordings of Nancy Salzman, with the intent to impair such objects' integrity and availability for use in an official proceeding, which is NXIVM Corp. Versus Ross Institute. I have no idea what that case is about. That'd be something to look into, I suppose. Racketeering Act 4. Let's see. Keith Rainier, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally conspire to transfer, possess, and use, without lawful authority and in and affecting interstate commerce, one or more means of identification of another person, Jane Doe 2, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, with the intent to commit and to aid and abet, blah, 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 intercepting wire and electronic communications again. Racketeering Act 5, inducing illegal entry and money laundering. So this is Claire Bronfman, together with others, knowingly and intentionally encouraged and induced an alien, Jane Doe 3, to come to, enter, and reside in the United States, knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that such coming to, entry, and residence was and would be in violation of law for the purpose of financial gain. Then the money laundering, they transported, transmit, and transferred money instruments and funds, to wit, wire transfers from one or more places in the United States to and through one or more places outside of the United States and to one or more places in the United States, from and through one or more places outside of the United States, from the U.S. out and out of the U.S. in. That's how that works. With the intent to promote the carrying on of a specified unlawful activity, bringing in and harboring an alien for financial gain. This is a funny crime to think of, though, okay? Because they're saying that, like, transferring money from the U.S. out of the U.S. to bring in an illegal alien is a racketeering criminal act and money laundering. I mean, Western Union does that all day long, right? Like, that's the whole thing. People sneak into the country illegally, wire money out to their families, and then the family uses that to come in illegally as well. So good job. Trafficking and document servitude. Jane Doe 4. So this is Keith Rainier and Lauren Salzman. Did knowingly and intentionally recruit, harbor, transport, provide, and obtain a person, to wit, Jane Doe 4, for labor and services in violation of Title 18. Document servitude. They did knowingly and intentionally conceal, remove, confiscate, and possess one or more immigration documents. So this person was maybe here lawfully, and they took their immigration proof so that if they were picked up, they wouldn't be able to prove it, I guess. An actual government identification documents of a person. And yeah, if you are here lawfully, many people are required to carry their documentation proving their lawful status on them at all times. So taking that away would be a bad thing. State law extortion. I'm missing the sex stuff hasn't come in yet. Oh, here's Allison Mack. She's in this one. Let's see. Title 18 is like the federal crime title, and it covers a lot of different stuff. I'm just abbreviating it because it's really boring to read all of the numbers. The different U.S. code is a whole bunch of different stuff. State law extortion. The defendants, Rainier, Allison Mack, Lauren Salzman, together with others, they did knowingly and intentionally steal property by extortion, in that they and others obtained property, personal property, and other things of value by compelling and inducing one or more persons, lower-ranking DOS members, to deliver such property by instilling in them a fear that if the property were not delivered, they would expose a secret and publicize an asserted fact, whether true or false, tending to subject one or more persons to hatred, contempt, and ridicule, and perform an act which would not in itself materially benefit them, but which was calculated to harm one or more persons materially with respect to their health, safety, business, calling, career. So this is extortion. If you don't do this thing, then I will do a thing that is of no benefit to me other than to hurt you. That's how extortion works out. If you don't give me money and property or status or something, if you don't give me what I want, I will do a thing that is not in my interest other than to cause you pain or embarrassment or ridicule. Luis Rojas says, Happy Halloween. Looking to purchase some expensive rye whiskey. Can I get a recommendation under $500, please? Rye whiskey that's that expensive, I don't have personal experience with. However, this is a 10-year Whistle Pig. This is about $75. There's a 15-year Whistle Pig rye whiskey, which is about $220 where I live, $220, $230. And the recommendation that I've gotten on that is huge. I just didn't want to drop $200 on a whiskey I've never tried any of off the bat. So that's my very, very uneducated rye whiskey under $500, but expensive, relatively expensive recommendation for you. I hope that helps. Racketeering Act 8. Oh, here's the sex trafficking. All right, finally. Finally, we're back to sex trafficking. Jane Doe 5. Jane Doe 5. I don't know what that's in response to. Okay, so here we go. February 2016 and June 2017. Keith Raniere and Allison Mack. You're an expensive drunk, aren't you? I like expensive whiskey, yeah. Yeah. Did knowingly and intentionally recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain, maintain, patronize, and solicit a person, Jane Doe 5, and did benefit financially and by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture that engaged in such acts, knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion, a combination of such means would be used to cause Jane Doe 5 to engage in one or more commercial sex acts. Rude. Rude. Okay. Same. So forced labor of Jane Doe. So Raniere and Mack provide and obtain the labor and services of a person by means of force, physical restraint, and threats of physical restraint to her and one or more other persons, serious harm, and threats of serious harm to her and one or more other persons, one or more schemes, plans, patterns intended to cause her to believe that if she did not perform such labor and services, she and one or more other persons would suffer serious harm in a combination of such means. There we go. State law extortion. So this is going to be the same thing. You have to do this or we would expose a secret and hurt you or hurt someone you like. So this is forced labor of Jane Doe 6. Have you ever considered getting a small aging cask and recasking some of your whiskeys? No. No, I have not. That sounds like work. Forced labor of Jane Doe 6. So this is Lauren Salzman. So the same counts as before, the first forced labor counts, and then the state law extortion. No sex. The sex acts was just Jane Doe 5, apparently. Identity theft of Jane Doe 7. The same thing as before. Oh, this one's tax evasion. There you go. Count 2. So that was all count 1. The racketeering counts. Count 2 is forced labor conspiracy. So this is Raniere, Mack, and Salzman. Conspire to provide and obtain the labor and services of one or more persons, lower ranking DOS members, with the force, physical restraint, serious harm, or schemes, plans intended to cause them believe that they would be harmed. Wire fraud conspiracy, same thing. Obtain money and property, including rights to assets, credit card authorizations, and sexually explicit photographs and videos from them by means of materially false and fraudulent pretenses. So if you're following and tracking along with this, the harm that they were using to extort people was these nude photographs, sexually explicit photographs of the lower ranking members were extorted from them and then held over them, as that's what they would release to if embarrassing photographs of a sexual nature to get them to do the things that they wanted them to do. Keck 7 go. Will any of these Jane Does ever see any money? They would maybe get some restitution for stuff that was taken from them. Criminal court can do restitution, which is where, like, let's say they were induced to pay $1,000 in. They can be restituted up to that $1,000. But if they want, damages other than like their actual losses, they would have to go to a civil court for that. So possibly. Count 4, sex trafficking conspiracy. So they did all the recruit, entice, harbor, blah, 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 by receiving anything of value, forcing them to engage in commercial sex acts. This is generally, so this is outside of the RICO count. The RICO counts only had one of the sex trafficking things for one specific Jane Doe, and that's because of, I guess, the facts around it. But they have a general sex trafficking conspiracy between Raniere and Allison Mack for multiple lower ranking DOS members. sex trafficking of Jane Doe 5. This is the Jane Doe member in the RICO thing. So they must have specific evidence of Jane Doe 5 and then some more generalized evidence of other Jane Does that are named. Here we go. Attempted sex trafficking of Jane Doe 8. Apparently the sex trafficking never occurred, but they attempted to get it to occur for whatever reason. They got right up to the climax and then couldn't finish. It could be broken up for any number of reasons. So this would be like maybe they had lined up a commercial sex act, like a prostitution type relationship, and then the client bails at the last minute and doesn't end up going through with it. That would be an attempted sex trafficking at that point. Next, count 7, conspiracy to commit identity theft. I mean, we've covered this stuff. Criminal forfeiture. They have to give up all this stuff. Doesn't really say what they're forfeiting. So that's not really interesting. This is pretty much the end of it. This is just the forfeiture of the materials related to the different counts that are out there. I know that there was a phone of one of the people. That was weird. A phone of one of the people was confiscated, and they are doing electronic discovery on the phone, but they have to disclose all of the contents of the phone to the other party. And the other party can then assert various privileges because, for example, it appears that the person was having contact with their attorney on that phone. So there are phone messages relating to all of this, but they're kind of commingled with potentially privileged communications. So right now they're trying to sort out the different messages and only get to what is privileged versus what is not privileged. And they'll do that by having attorneys argue back and forth about, what is within the scope of privilege and what is without. And then the judge will eventually rule on any of these objections. And then they'll come up with a concise list of disclosable discovery. So that process is happening right now. Those documents were just really recently filed. So this is they're in for a long haul. Allison Mack is going to be at home for a long time. So look for her on meetaninmate.com. Keep her company, send her emails or whatever. Only through a verified site. Like, I'm not advocating anybody send Allison Mack emails unless, they match her on Inmate Tinder or whatever. Wow. All right, so that's the superseding indictment of Allison Mack. It's hard to say at this point what's there, what's not there. This appears to be it's a thorough complaint. That doesn't really mean much of anything. All of these are accusations at this point. It's hard to say. They haven't presented, we don't have any evidence of any of this stuff. Presumably they do. And it's important to note that all of this is done by grand jury. What does Allison Mack look like? How dare you try and get me to do that again? I still have it pulled up, sir. She looks like that. That's Allison Mack. So this has all been done by grand jury. Now, tell us about this RICO aspect you mentioned. Oh man, I am not qualified to discuss valid RICO. RICO is racketeering in a criminal organization for short. I don't know. I don't remember the exact acronym, but it basically means that there's a criminal organization conspiring to commit crimes, and when it falls into a certain set of facts, it becomes RICO, and there's a specific way to process it. The joke around lawyers is if anyone asks if it's RICO, it's not RICO, but it appears that this one might actually be RICO. So that's that. But let me explain real quick how a grand jury works. So grand jury is where they call in a jury of people, and a prosecutor alone is allowed to present evidence and witnesses to a grand jury to determine if there is probable cause to raise charges against someone. Okay? The evidence presented at grand jury is not subject to the federal rules of evidence. So you can present hearsay information. You can present privileged communications that might not be permissible at trial. It might not be able to be used. You can present these things. There's no defense to object to it. Typically, a prosecutor just makes the case that we have enough to move forward. So they can use other evidence that they would use in an investigatory purpose that they couldn't use in a prosecutive purpose. That's how grand juries work. So you can actually have a very solid grand jury case and have no criminal case because there's just not enough evidence that would be validly presentable at trial. It would all be excluded for various violations of the Fourth Amendment, for example, stuff like that. Because a cop can come up to you and break into your car without your consent and with no probable cause and search the whole car and find a bunch of drugs. And then he can take that to a grand jury and say, I found a bunch of drugs in this guy's car. That's fine. When you go to trial, you're going to exclude those drugs because he didn't have a warrant, he didn't have consent, and he didn't have a valid exception to the warrant requirement, which is probable cause plus he would need the probable cause to get to the vehicle exception to the warrant requirement. So I'm not making any judgments on this case, but it does look like some sort of creepy extortive cult. I'm going to call it a cult because it involves sex trafficking of unlawful people, or I guess people without legal status, unlawful people. There are no illegal people. There might be illegal people, by the way. I think a cloned person would be an illegal people, and that might exist. So, but anyway, that's the Allison Mack case. Let's close up the night with a fun look at the only legally recognized haunted house in the United States. Unless you guys have any questions about the Allison Mack case. She has very nice teeth. Now someone help me out here. 'Cause conspiracy time. Didn't NXIVM run like a news site? A very edgy news site? Like, can someone help me out with that? I'm pretty sure that NXIVM ran a very edgy news site, but I'm really afraid to search for any of it. Bagel Goose says, sex trafficking? Perfect time to tune in. Watched a documentary about NXIVM. They're definitely a cult. It is her teeth. Look. This picture is just this is all of the picture. Not like there's something else you can see. How about your fan club being known as Racketeers? I like it. But wasn't there a NXIVM news line? I'm trying to think. I used to see, I swear I saw it on Twitter all the time. It's like Knife Edge News or something. Gosh, you're going to make me look it up. What is it called? What is it called? Oh, I typed it wrong. Does... I mean, I swear that NXIVM had a news site that was reporting on Twitter. Oh, NXIVM.com is no longer there. Oh, guys, Rose McGowan shares her take on NXIVM. That's what everybody cares about. Oh, Lord. Let me see. What are the NXIVM companies? I'm not going to find this, am I? Okay. Well, I'll stop looking. What? It didn't go out. It's back. It's back. It's back. Told you, country internet. Middle of the week. That's just what happens. All right. Stop wasting time on NXIVM. Let's get rid of this sex cult trafficker and let's bring up what's really interesting, a wall of text. That's what you guys want to see. No more pictures of Allison Mack. Okay. Here we go. So this is the case of Jeffrey M. Stambovsky versus Helen V. Ackley and Ellis Realty. Was it the knife? Yes, it was the knife. Thank you, D's nuts. It was the knife. It was the knife. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Luis Rojas, I would love to cook up something with Sargon. He has not responded to me. He said on the Dick Masterson show that he would come on my show and we could talk about, his legal experience and his foray into politics from YouTubing. I want to have a very friendly show. I like Sargon. Just fine. Like, irrespective of his drama with Jim and Ralph. Ooh, I like Jim and Ralph. I like all these guys. They've all entertained me for years, in various ways. Well, I mean, Sargon has probably entertained me longer than Jim and Ralph, just due to the nature of stuff that has been recommended to me. But, I'm not involved in their drama. I don't know if Sargon thinks I am. I think there's some funny jokes, but I want to have a very friendly interview with Sargon. He said he would come on my show, on the Dick Masterson show, and he told me to email him, which I did, and I Discord messaged him, both of those, and he has not responded to me. So, Sargon, buddy, please, just respond to the email. If you don't want to come on the show, that's fine. I don't care. I'd love to have you on, but just because I think we'd have a good chat. I think you're a very interesting person. But if you don't want to come on, that's okay. I get it. You're busy. So anyway, Jim is more likely to be my future client. Anyway, so let's read what this case is about. So here's the synopsis. Purchaser of home, that's Stambovsky, brought action against vendor and broker for rescission and damages. The Supreme Court, New York County, Leonard is the judge. Dismissed, and purchaser appealed. Dismissed the case. So Stambovsky takes this case to court. He says, this house is haunted AF. They should have told me the poltergeists were in there. Not okay. And the lower court, which is the Supreme Court of New York, is the lower court. Don't ask. New York is weird like that. The Supreme Court of New York is the lower court. Then it goes to the New York Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court says, get out. Ridiculous. Haunted house. The appeals court's like, no. Hold on, buddy. We're going to tell you how haunted this thing is. Talk to V first. V. Oh. I know he's really slow to answer emails and misses them and has a bunch of Discord messages. I get it. That's why I'm not mad at him. But he told me to email him. And then I did right away. So that's all. But, we're working it out. So let's see. So the Supreme Court Appellate Division held that vendor was estopped to deny the existence of poltergeists on the premises. So the house is haunted as a matter of law. Guys, You can no longer say that this house is not haunted. That's what happened. You can no longer say that the house is not haunted. Equitable remedy of rescission was available, which means that because the house is haunted and you didn't disclose the house is haunted as a matter of law, they can actually pull out of the purchase. This court is for pulling out. Vendor who had undertaken to inform the public at large about the existence of poltergeists had a duty to inform the purchaser. So the vendor had spread around, vendor's like, this is a haunted house. They went ahead and took on that role. So then they had a duty to inform the purchaser that the house was haunted. Haunting is not a condition which can and should be ascertained by reasonable inspection of the premises. So guys, if you've ever bought a home, you get a home inspector. He comes out, bangs on a couple walls, makes sure the appliances work, flips all the light switches on, checks all the outlets, goes up and looks for mold in the attic and bats and stuff. That guy's job is not to find out if there are poltergeists in your house. Beware, buyer beware. You can't blame the inspector for not finding the ghosts. And 5, there was no cause of action against the broker. So the broker did not have a cause of action. Let's read through this. That's the synopsis. His first sentence, starting off strong. Not ghost hunters, guys. You always call ghost adventures with Zach Bagans. Because that guy's muscular but can't breathe right. And it's this weird, funny thing. Ghost Adventures is a much funnier show to me than Ghost Hunters. Okay. Plaintiff, to his horror, discovered that the house he had recently contracted to purchase was widely reputed to be possessed by poltergeists, reportedly seen by defendant seller and members of her family. I already distrust this because poltergeists aren't seen, right? Poltergeists, they manifest. If maybe I'm understanding this wrong, but poltergeists manifest physical results, but you don't actually see the poltergeist. Is that true? Am I wrong on that? Is there a poltergeist expert in the chat who can help me out? What if the inspector is a ghost hunter on the side? I got to pull this up. Hold on. Funny story about this. Let me see. Hold on. We'll get this formatted right. Here we go. Here we go. I don't know why they have this line in here. Bagel Goose says, I watched Demon House while super cross-faded. It was a bad idea. So here we go. Unfortunately for Stambovsky, no one told him that the house was filled with poltergeists, which is why you really should hire former Trump administration judicial nominee and full-time ghost hunter Brett Talley before you make a major property purchase. Yes! Who can you better trust than a former judicial nominee and full-time ghost hunter? And I mean that in 100% serious, 100% seriousness. That's great. That's great. To go from lawyer, whose job is to be a law and trying to be a judge, and then to end up as a ghost hunter full-time, doing what you love. It's almost as magical as going from lawyer to YouTuber, but not quite. Okay, let's get back. Let's get back to this thing. All right. How is this not parody? Okay, let's see. Possessed by poltergeist, reportedly seen by defendant seller and members of her family on numerous occasions over the last 9 years. Plaintiff promptly commenced this action seeking rescission of the contract of sale. Supreme Court reluctantly dismissed the complaint, holding that plaintiff had no remedy at law in this jurisdiction. The unusual facts of this case, as disclosed by the record, clearly warrant a grant of equitable relief to the buyer, who, as a resident of New York City, cannot be expected to have any familiarity with the folklore of the village of Nyack. Nyack? Not being a local, plaintiff could not readily learn that the home he had contracted to purchase is haunted. Whether the source of the spectral apparitions seen by defendant sellers are parapsychic or psychogenic, having reported their presence in both a national publication, Reader's Digest, and the local press in 1977 and 1982, respectively, defendant is estopped to deny their existence, and as a matter of law, the house is haunted. More to the point, however, no divination is required to conclude that it is the defendant's promotional efforts in publicizing her close encounters with these spirits which fostered the home's reputation in the community. In 1989, the house was included in a 5-home walking tour of Nyack as described in a November 27th newspaper article as a riverfront Victorian with ghost. With ghost. Just alongside it. The impact of the reputation thus created goes to the very essence of the bargain between the parties, greatly impairing both the value of the property and its potential for resale. The extent of this impairment may be presumed for the purpose of reviewing the disposition of this motion to dismiss the cause of action for rescission and represents merely an issue of fact for resolution at trial. Hey, what's up, Cecil? Welcome to it. Sad to hear you're out of whiskey, brother. Always a sad day, but martinis are a good substitute. While I agree with the Supreme Court that the real estate broker, as agent for the seller, is under no duty to disclose to a potential buyer the phantasmal reputation of the premises, and that in his pursuit of a legal remedy for fraudulent misrepresentation against the seller, plaintiff hasn't a ghost of a chance. Come on, Ruben. I am nevertheless moved by the spirit of equity. Come on. This is real. This is not a joke. This is from straight out of Westlaw. This is a published opinion. You know a judge is having too much fun when an opinion is loaded with dad jokes. That's the ultimate sign of a judge that has had too much fun with a case. They just drop dad jokes all over it. I'm moved by the spirit of equity to allow the buyer to seek rescission of the contract and sale and recovery of his down payment. New York law fails to recognize any remedy for damages incurred as a result of the seller's mere silence, applying instead the strict rule of caveat emptor. Caveat emptor means buyer beware. The buyer bears the burden. Therefore, the theoretical basis for granting relief, even under the extraordinary facts of this case, is elusive if not ephemeral. Come on. Dirtbag. Then he's got a Shakespeare quote. Pity me not, but lend thy serious hearing to what I shall unfold. William Shakespeare, Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 5, quote, the ghost. Regular Jack Daniels, I don't care for. I will cook with it. I'm not a big fan of drinking it. Okay. From the perspective of a person in the position of plaintiff herein, a very practical problem arises with respect to the discovery of a paranormal phenomenon. Who you gonna call? As the title song to the movie Ghostbusters asks. Applying the strict rule of caveat emptor to a contract involving a house possessed by poltergeists conjures up visions of a psychic or medium routinely accompanying the structural engineer and Terminix man on an inspection of every home subject to a contract of sale. It portends that the prudent attorney will establish an escrow account lest the subject of the transaction come back to haunt him and his client. I mean, come on, this is terrible. Or pray that his malpractice insurance coverage extends to supernatural disasters. In the interest of avoiding such untenable consequences, the notion that a haunting is a condition which can and should be ascertained upon reasonable inspection of the premises is a hobgoblin which should be exorcised from the body of legal precedent and laid quietly to rest. It has been suggested by a leading authority that the ancient rule which holds that mere non-disclosure does not constitute actionable misrepresentation finds proper application in cases where the fact undisclosed is patent which means on the face of it. Patent, in this case, is not a patent as a right. It is patent versus latent, patent versus latent, maybe. I don't know the pronunciation, but it means on the face. So finds proper application in cases where the fact undisclosed is on the face of the facts, or the plaintiff has equal opportunities for obtaining information which he may be expected to utilize. So this would be a typical inspection. Or the defendant has no reason to think that he's acting under any misapprehension. However, with respect to transactions in real estate, New York adheres to the doctrine of caveat emptor and imposes no duty upon the vendor to disclose any information concerning the premises. No, because the buyer has to ascertain the quality of what they're buying in New York. This holds true in most cases, most places, except there are exceptions. Like if there's something that, in Minnesota, for example, the buyer is not expected to discover evidence of like a known leak, for example, like if there's water damage, because they might not be able to do that without a really invasive inspection where they cut off some drywall and stuff like that and look behind it. Because if there's a leak of water that's running behind the drywall that's causing mold, like you're not going to discover that just by a basic inspection. You'd have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars and damage the property to find it. So that would be the patent sort of approach to this, is you're supposed to find surface level, readily ascertainable things with some reasonable care. And then the other stuff it goes beyond that initial inspection. Okay. Unless there is a confidential or fiduciary relationship between the parties. So if there's a special relationship between buyer and seller, then the seller would have a fiduciary responsibility. I don't even want to come up with a hypothetical for that, but just that's what that means. Or some conduct on the part of the seller which constitutes active concealment. So if you have a big mold stain on your wall and you just paint over it with Kills and throw a coat of white up there because you know you're going to sell the house within 2 months and the mold stain isn't going to come through, and you don't fix the underlying problem, that's active concealment. Okay? What if it's a leak of ectoplasm? So would a poltergeist have squatters' rights? Yeah. Only in California would that be true. Let's see. Dummy ventilation system constructed by seller. Yeah, so dummy ventilation system would be actionable concealment, or active concealment. And I only read it because it said dummy. Foundation cracks covered by the seller. Right. Normally, some affirmative misrepresentation, like industrial waste on land allegedly used only as a farm, or land containing valuable minerals allegedly acquired for use as a campsite, or partial disclosure occurs. A partial disclosure would be existence of a third unopened street concealed, or escrow agreement securing a lien concealed. Is required to impose upon the seller a duty to communicate undisclosed conditions affecting the premises, defective water and sewer systems being concealed. All right. Caveat emptor is not so all-encompassing a doctrine of common law as to render every act of non-disclosure immune from redress, whether legal or equitable. In regard to the necessity of giving information which has not been asked, the rule differs somewhat at law and in equity, and while the law courts would permit no recovery of damages against a vendor because of mere concealment of facts under certain circumstances, yet if the vendee refused to complete the contract because of the concealment of a material fact on the part of the other, equity would refuse to compel him to do so. Because equity only compels the specific performance on a contract which is fair and open, and in regard to which all material matters known to each have been communicated to the other. So there, in contract law, you have law and you have equity. So law is, we'll let you recover for damages under the law of contract. Equity is where we will make things fair and equitable, because the whole idea of contracts is that the contracts are conducted under an idea of fair dealing, of equitable and fair dealing, good faith and fair dealing. So you may not have a remedy at law because they don't tell you about a certain condition that you wouldn't easily be able to ascertain, but you might have an equitable remedy which just says that both parties have to make whole. So in the cases of a lawful damage in regards to this sale, If you're searching for a remedy at law, you're going to get damages, which would be anything you've paid in. So you'll get your stuff back. But you'll also get stuff like missed opportunity, because let's say you were looking at another property, but you put the offer in on this one and you put escrow money or a down payment down on this property. And now, in the meanwhile of discovering the poltergeists and then having to back out, you missed your opportunity to buy the other house that you really liked because that sold to someone else. So now you've lost something else of value, your opportunity to buy your other property, and that would be damages at law. Equity is not going to bring back the sale of that house that you missed or compensate you financially to cover it. Equity is only going to give you back what you specifically put in. I hope that helps kind of explain the difference between law and equity. Make whole, I presume not a hole to another dimension from which poltergeists can come. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Equity only compels the specific performance of a contract which is fair and open. Right. Even as a principle of law, long before exceptions were embodied in statute law, the doctrine was held inapplicable to contagion among animals, adulteration of food, and insolvency of a maker of a promissory note, and of a tenant substituted for another under a lease. Common law is not moribund. Ex facto jus orator. Law arises out of facts. Where fairness and common sense dictate that an exception should be created, the evolution of the law should not be stifled by rigid application of a legal maxim. The doctrine of caveat emptor requires that a buyer act prudently to assess the fitness and value of his purchase and operates to bar the purchaser who fails to exercise due care from seeking the equitable remedy of rescission. For the purposes of the instant motion, so this present motion to withdraw the purchase of the property, to dismiss the action pursuant to CPLR 3211A7, plaintiff is entitled to every favorable inference which may reasonably be drawn from the pleadings. So the defense moved to dismiss the charges. That means that the charges are read, or the case is read most favorably to the non-moving party. Whenever you make a motion to dismiss a case, the other party gets the most favorable reading of the pleadings. Oh, I just realized I finished that. Speaking of Whistle Pig, we'll do a little amount of Whistle Pig here. Not a full. I don't need that much tonight. I'm getting drunk off of ghosts anyway. Okay. So yeah, whenever you make a motion to dismiss, the facts are read favorably towards the non-moving party to see if we take everything as they say it, do they still not have a claim? So specifically in this instance, that he met his obligation to conduct an inspection of the premises and a search of available public records with respect to title. It should be apparent, however, that the most meticulous inspection in the search would not reveal the presence of poltergeists at the premises or unearth the property's ghoulish reputation in the community. Therefore, there is no sound policy reason to deny plaintiffs relief for failing to discover a state of affairs which the most prudent purchaser would not be expected to even contemplate. Bagel Goose says, why'd Cecil quit his job as a ghost? He ran out of good booze. That dad joke can go right into this opinion. Right into this opinion. The case law in this jurisdiction dealing with the duty of a vendor of real property to disclose information to the buyer is distinguishable from the matter under review. The most salient distinction is that existing cases invariably deal with the physical condition of the premises. Like the property's use as a landfill, a sewer line crossing adjoining property without the owner's consent, defects in title, liens against the property, expenses or income, and other factors affecting its operation. No case has been brought to this court's attention in which the property value was impaired as a result of the reputation created by information disseminated to the public by the seller, or for that matter, as a result of possession by poltergeists. But really, guys, what the judge is getting to is that the seller has advertised this property as possessed for a decade or more at this point. That's what's really tipping the court's hand here. I mean, yes, it's haunted as a matter of law, but it's haunted as a matter of law because they said it was haunted over and over to other people. Where a condition which has been created by the seller materially impairs the value of the contract and is peculiarly within the knowledge of the seller or unlikely to be discovered by a prudent purchaser exercising due care with respect to the subject transaction, non-disclosure constitutes a basis for rescission as a matter of equity. Any other outcome places upon the buyer not merely the obligation to exercise care in his purchase, but rather to be omniscient with respect to any fact which may affect the bargain. No practical purpose is served by imposing such a burden upon a purchaser. To the contrary, it encourages predatory business practice and offends the principle that equity will suffer no wrong to be without a remedy. Defendant's contention that the contract of sale, particularly the merger or as-is clause, bars recovery of the buyer's deposit is unavailing. Even an express disclaimer will not be given effect where the facts are peculiarly within the knowledge of the party invoking it. What do you think about Skinwalker Ranch? I have no idea. Moreover, a fair reading of the merger clause reveals that it expressly disclaims only representations made with respect to the physical condition of the premises and merely makes general reference to representations concerning any other matter or things affecting or relating to the aforesaid premises. As broad as this language may be, a reasonable interpretation is that its effect is limited to tangible or physical matters and does not extend to paranormal phenomena. Finally, if the language of the contract is to be considered as construed as broadly as defendant urges to encompass the presence of poltergeists in the house, it cannot be said that she has delivered the premises vacant in accordance with her obligation under the provisions of the contract writer. So I was wrong. Yes, they literally just gave the poltergeist squatters' rights as a matter of law. The poltergeist is considered a resident of the premises. Is not vacant at this point. Cecil, yes, we have to do a booze stream. DM me on Twitter, buddy, or I'll DM you or something, and we'll set that up. We'll set that up. Very soon, like in the next week or something. Oh, wow. To the extent New York law may be said to require something more than mere concealment to apply even the equitable remedy of rescission, the case of Junius Construction Corporation versus Cohen, while not precisely on point, provides some guidance. In that case, the seller disclosed that an official map indicated two as yet unopened streets which were planned for construction at the edge of the parcel. What was not disclosed was that the same map indicated a third street which, if open, would divide the plot in half. The court held that, while the seller was under no duty to mention the planned streets at all, having undertaken to disclose two of them, he was then obliged to reveal the third. In the case at bar, defendant seller deliberately fostered the public belief that her home was possessed. Having undertaken to inform the public at large, to whom she has no legal relationship, about the supernatural occurrences on her property, she may be said to owe no less a duty to her contract vendee. It has been remarked that the occasional modern cases which permit a seller to take unfair advantage of a buyer's ignorance so long as he is not actively misled are singularly unappetizing. Whereas here, the seller not only takes unfair advantage of the buyer's ignorance, but has created and perpetuated a condition about which he is unlikely to even inquire, enforcement of the contract, in whole or in part, is offensive to the court's sense of equity. Application of the remedy of rescission within the bounds of the narrow exception to the doctrine of caveat emptor set forth herein is entirely appropriate to relieve the unwitting purchaser from the consequences of a most unnatural bargain. Accordingly, the judgment of the Supreme Court, New York County, entered April 9th, 1990, which dismissed the complaint pursuant to CPLR 3211A7, should be modified on the law and the facts and in exercise of discretion, and the first cause of action seeking rescission of the contract reinstated without costs. This doesn't mean that he wins, although I think he did win. It means that it goes back to the lower court with the direction of this court. Now, there is a dissenting opinion, and I think maybe we need to read it. It's only a page, half a page, 3/4 of a page long. We got to be on dad joke detection. Excuse me. We got to be on dad joke detection for this dissenting opinion and see if he rivals the first guy in having fun with this. Oh my goodness. All right. So this is Justice Smith dissenting. I would affirm the dismissal of the complaint by the motion court. Plaintiff seeks to rescind his contract to purchase defendant Ackley's residential property and recover his down payment. Plaintiff alleges that Ackley and her real estate broker, defendant Ellis Realty, made material misrepresentations of the property and that they failed to disclose that Ackley believed that the house was haunted by poltergeists. Moreover, Ackley shared this belief with her community and the general public through articles published in Reader's Digest 1977, the local newspaper in 1982. November 1989, approximately 2 months after the parties entered into the contract of sale, but subsequent to the scheduled October 2nd, 1989 closing, the house was included in a 5-house walking tour and again described in the local newspaper as being haunted. So this is after the sale, but subsequent to the October 2nd closing. So this is right after it was closed. It was right after closing? Okay, November 1989. 2 months after the parties entered the contract for sale, but subsequent to the scheduled October 1989 closing. So this is still after closing. It was included in a 5-house walking tour and again described in the local newspaper as being haunted. Prior to closing, plaintiff learned of this reputation and unsuccessfully sought to rescind the $650,000 contract of sale and obtain return of his $32,500 down payment. This is a nice house, guys. $650,000 in 1991 or 1990 or whatever. Whoo, 89. I'll show a picture of the house in a minute. The plaintiff then commenced this action for that relief and alleged that he would not have entered into the contract had he been so advised that as a result of the alleged poltergeist activity, the market value and resaleability of property was greatly diminished. Defendant Ackley has counterclaimed for specific performance. That's to force him to buy the property. It is settled law in New York that the seller of real property is under no duty to speak when the parties deal at arm's length. That means when there's no special relationship between them. So me to any other person randomly on the street, that's an arm's length transaction. The mere silence of the seller without some act or conduct which deceived the purchaser does not amount to a concealment that is actionable as a fraud. The buyer has a duty to satisfy himself as to the quality of his bargain pursuant to the doctrine of caveat emptor, which the New York State still applies to the real estate transactions. This guy is losing the argument in dad jokes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to search for the house, and there's going to be a house with breasts all over the place. Okay, the parties herein were represented by counsel and dealt at arm's length. This is evidenced by the contract of sale, which inter alia, which means among other things, contained various riders and a specific provision that all prior understandings and agreements between the parties were merged into the contract, that the contract completely expressed their full agreement, and that neither had relied upon any statement by anyone else not set forth in the contract. There's no allegation that defendants, by some specific act other than the failure to speak, deceive the plaintiffs. Nevertheless, if cause of action may be sufficiently stated where there's a confidential or fiduciary relationship creating a duty to disclose, and there was a failure to disclose a material fact calculated to induce false belief. However, plaintiff herein has not alleged that there is no basis for concluding that a confidential or fiduciary relationship existed between those parties to an arm's length transaction, such as to give rise to a duty to disclose. In addition, there is no allegation that defendants thwarted plaintiff efforts to fulfill his responsibilities fixed by the doctrine of caveat emptor. Finally, if the doctrine of caveat emptor is to be discarded, it should be for a reason more substantive than a poltergeist. The existence of a poltergeist is no more binding upon the defendants than it is upon this court. Based upon the foregoing, the motion court properly dismissed the complaint. This dissenting opinion definitely loses because they're boring. Boring opinion. Get out. Get out. Not enough dad jokes. Terrible human beings. You know, you pay judges for one thing, and that's slipping dad jokes in to keep bored law students interested. And they didn't do it. They had one job. Let me pull up this thing again. That's what she said. So here's a picture of the house. You can see right here. It is a very nice house. As you can tell, it's also in New York, so it's got to cost a fortune. Lately, let's see, where was it? Until 2015, Ingrid Michaelson actually lived in the house because apparently being infested with poltergeists is still a step up from when you're from Staten Island. She sold the house for $1.77 million, and the pictures from that sale are still available on Estately and Trulia in case Ed Whalen needs to do some last-minute hypothesizing to defend Dimsdale's honor. I think something happened to Hester Prynne. I just think she's confused about the facts. So, this house is a monster of a house. It is $1.77 million. Very, very expensive property. Here are pictures from inside, as you can see here. Looks like a very nice place. Let's see. I don't know if there's still this. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if there's a slideshow. Oh, look at that. We can do a slideshow. I don't know if I can make these. Wait, why did it go to Allison Mack? I think I grabbed the wrong window. There we go. You guys don't want to see Allison Mack anyway. Don't lie. I don't want ad block. I like ads. Okay, so look at this thing. It's on the river. This is gorgeous. Back of the property here. There's a view of the river or lake. I don't know if that's a river or a lake. Here's the staircase. Beautiful woodwork. Nice kitchen. Look at that. Look at that oven and stove. I would kill for that. I would kill and then they would haunt my house. I got a nice vent hood. Looks like they've got an indoor grill on that thing too. Here's the sitting room. Very nice. You've got a grand piano. This room is huge. It's probably a baby grand, but still, that's a big room. Man, it's making me jealous. No, Allison Mack doesn't come with the house. I guess unless she were murdered in the house and maybe she's a poltergeist, but to my knowledge, she's still alive. That's a weird thing. Guys, I've never pretended to be anything other than a boomer. Oh, here's a second little mini kitchen, presumably upstairs, just in case. Rooms. It's a nice place. Okay, that's it. That's it. All right, let's get rid of that. Okay. So there you go. It's about 4,600 square feet, half-acre lot, 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. Very nice house. Okay. Currently home to indie songwriter Ingrid Michaelson. Spacious yet intimate home is bathed with luminous southeast light. The gracious home offers beautiful spaces for entertaining as well as many private nooks and hideaways. Recent renovations include Cook's massive eat-in kitchen with Viking appliances, concrete counters, farmhouse sink, new bathrooms, and central air and hardwood floors. The large wraparound porch is perfect for catching river breezes. Extraordinary views from almost every room. Beautiful architectural details including a stunning turret, handcrafted bookcases, window seats, inlaid wood floors, pocket doors, and coffered ceilings. Features include a floor-to-ceiling window, a massive living room with a wood-burning fireplace, and one-of-a-kind dining room, all beautifully proportioned. The Perry Barn is adjacent to this property with additional riverfront. Also may have Baphomet included. I think they left out that line. Also, Baphomet may hang out in your property and read books to you. So there we go, guys. So yeah, there you go. That's the cases I brought for the Halloween Spooktacular. Allison Mack, of course, will close out the stream with non-nude pictures of her, and we will go ahead and edit the accidental nudes that occurred. That I don't think are actually... Whoop, that was dangerous. I don't think are actually Allison Mack. If you guys have any final questions about whatever, ask them now. Otherwise, I think it's a good time to stop the stream. And I can go eat something more substantial than candy or ice cream because I am hungry for real food. Recap of what's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will have Russell Greer, Chapter 4, with Peach Saliva and Sriracha, two very funny ladies. will be joining me. We will be reading through Russell Greer's book, Chapter 4 of Why I Sued Taylor Swift. We will be making fun of the legal and factual assertions in those books, as well as other things, because remember, Russell Greer has publicly stated that he believes it should be a felony for women to refuse to have sex with him. So that is the caliber of person we are dealing with. It should be a felony for women to refuse sexual intercourse with Russell Greer. So he is allegedly a legal rapist or whatever. I don't even know what the term for that would be. So that is Thursday, and then Friday. Friday will be early, 1 hour earlier. It will be 10 p.m. Central because we're all boomers. It will be 10 p.m. Central, not 11 p.m. Central. I will, of course, announce this on Twitter and promote it all day on Friday. We will have Doug Tenneple and Larry Blydner and me for the Chad Dad Chat or Chad Dad panel, whatever you want to call it. We will be offering dad advice on how to raise a family, lead a family in a world full of scumbags and degeneracy. And we will be taking questions on that. We will talk about, all of us are, I guess I'm now included in this. I don't consider myself in the same way. All of us are creators to some extent. Doug obviously has had a very storied career. Larry has had a very exceptional career, if you're not familiar with him as well. And those guys, I will be enjoying hearing their stories about raising kids in a world while also being involved in this world of entertainment and not letting that stain and poison your soul. They have different perspectives on life, and I'm really happy to merge them into the stream. So absolutely come join us on Friday. That will be a 10 o'clock Central stream, and there will be whiskey. There will be old men trying to figure out technology, and we're just going to have a really good time. So join me later this week. Thank you all for watching tonight. What is my opinion of Bill Handel? I don't know anything about Bill Handel. Did you like talking to that umbrella guy? Yes, I want to talk to that umbrella guy more, but have a more focused subject where he and I can talk more. I want to get to know him because I'm new to the whole comics thing, and that was my first interaction with him. So I want to get more interaction with him and learn more about him. And we're gonna do another stream together at some point soon. I think that he mentioned he would love to come back on, and I know that his channel has been shut down from the streaming thing. So I definitely want to give him an opportunity to come on and engage people that he would normally talk to on his stream, on my stream, and we'll have a good conversation. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's wrap this up. I'm going to blank out the stream. It will be taken down right away until I can make the appropriate edit of the offending materials that were not intended to be there, and then it will come back up. And hi, what's up? Hint of shrimp. And then it will come back up as soon as YouTube makes those edits. But obviously, for reasons of Bing's interference, I can't leave the stream up while it makes the edit. All right, guys. I have to edit it. It's a really simple task. Just turn off safe search on Bing and type in Allison Mack and you'll get the same screen. No, I don't need a community strike on my channel. So we're going to go ahead and remove that. So thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a fantastic Halloween. I hope you got some enjoyment out of these weird legal stories about all sorts of stuff. And if I happen to get information about Mark Wade's 911 call tomorrow, I will pass that on to EVS. Like I said, I did hardly any work to get any of this. I'm just a guy kind of receiving it. So I'm not like claiming this is my story. I'm not going to scoop anybody. I'll let EVS do it. I'll talk about it at some point soon. But that you'll find that story probably on Comicsgate Live before anywhere else. So All right. Oh, finally, if anybody involved in Mark Wade's antics wants to talk to me about anything, DM me. If you have personal experience, I'm hopefully going to be talking to someone after the stream tonight about that. I can't disclose who or what the subject is at this point, but I'm hopefully going to get some more information about someone who has direct dealings with Mark Wade. If any of you guys have a line to Jason Outlaw or Mrs. Outlaw Pierce, I can't remember her first name, and they would like to talk to me, I would love to interview either of them on stream, and we can go ahead and set the record straight as to what happened directly from their mouth. I would love it. If any of you guys have a line to them, please get me in contact. I will talk to them. That's right up my alley, right? That involves a police call. That involves alleged legal action that could have taken place if they could afford it. They were discouraged from doing it by their lawyer, according to the Facebook post. I think that would be a great interview. Great interview. So if anybody knows them, Shannon Outlaw Pierce or Jason Outlaw, go ahead and if you know them, get me in contact with them, and I would love to talk to them. Love to talk to them, tell their story on my show. Anyways, guys, hope you have a good night. Love you all. Talk to you tomorrow. Please join me then. Peace. Peace.